Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about urgency, not the frantic, panicked kind, but the kind that ignites discipline, the kind that separates those who merely dream from those who do. Because here's the reality. Every single person in this room has a goal, a vision, something they want to achieve, but wanting isn't enough. Wishing isn't enough. Waiting? That's the surest way to watch your potential fade into regret. The difference between success and stagnation isn't talent, it isn't luck, it's urgency. The decision to act now, not when the stars align, not when you feel ready, but today, this moment, because time is the one resource you can't replenish. Every minute you spend hesitating is a minute you could have spent building, learning, growing. And here's the hard truth. If you don't act now, someone else will. The world doesn't pause for indecision. Think about the greatest breakthroughs in history. The inventions, the movements, the discoveries. None of them happened because someone said, "I'll get to it eventually." The light bulb wasn't invented on a lazy afternoon. The civil rights movement wasn't fought with maybe tomorrow. Progress demands urgency. It demands the courage to start before you're ready. Because readiness is a myth. You don't wait for confidence, you earn it through action. So why don't we act? Because fear disguises itself as patience. We tell ourselves, "I need more time," when what we really mean is, "I'm afraid to fail." We say, "I'll start next week," when what we're really saying is, "I'm not sure I can do this." But here's what urgency teaches us. Failure isn't the worst outcome. Inaction is. Regret is. Wondering what if years from now is far more painful than any stumble you'll face today. Urgency isn't about recklessness. It's about respect. Respect for your own potential. Respect for the limited time you have. The most successful people don't have more hours in the day. They simply refuse to waste the ones they've got. They don't wait for motivation. They create it through action. You don't need to feel inspired to start. You need to start to feel inspired. And here's the secret. Urgency compounds. One decisive step leads to another. Momentum builds. What feels impossible today becomes inevitable tomorrow. But only if you begin right now. Not when the semester starts, not when the right opportunity comes, not when you're less busy. There will never be a perfect time. There will only ever be right now. So ask yourself, what's the one thing you've been putting off? The skill you want to learn, the business you want to launch, the conversation you need to have. Whatever it is, it's not going away. It'll keep whispering to you in quiet moments, growing louder with every delay. The only way to silence it is to act today. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because someday isn't a day on the calendar. It's an excuse. And excuses don't build futures. Action does. So get up, get moving, and get after it. The time is now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something you already know but probably don't want to hear. Fear never goes away. That knot in your stomach before a big presentation. The voice whispering you're not good enough when you try something new. That's your constant companion on the road to success. But here's what changes. Not the presence of fear, but your relationship with it. The most dangerous lie we tell ourselves is that successful people aren't afraid, that somehow magically they woke up one day fearless. No, the difference isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let fear dictate their actions. Think about it. When was the last time you did something truly worthwhile that didn't scare you at least a little? Exactly. Growth and comfort cannot ride the same horse. Let's dissect fear for what it really is. Your brain's outdated survival mechanism kicking in. Thousands of years ago, fear kept us from becoming lion food. Today, that same mechanism tries to stop you from sending that job application, starting that business, or speaking up in class. Your primitive brain can't tell the difference between actual danger and perceived failure. That's why your hands shake before a speech like you're facing a saber-toothed tiger. But here's the truth. In the modern world, what you fear can't kill you, it can only teach you. Failure isn't your enemy. It's your professor. Every misstep comes with a lesson attached if you're willing to look for it. Thomas Edison didn't fail 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. He found 1,000 ways that didn't work. That's the mindset shift that changes everything. When you start seeing setbacks as data collection rather than defeat, you unlock unlimited potential. The student who gets a bad grade has two choices: decide they're stupid, or figure out what they need to learn differently. Which approach do you think leads to success? Let's talk about comfort zones, those cozy little prisons we build for ourselves. They feel safe, but they're actually the most dangerous places to live long term, because while you're sitting comfortably, the world is moving forward. That classmate who asks questions even when they might sound silly, they're growing. That colleague pitching ideas that might get rejected, they're advancing. Meanwhile, the comfort zone shrinks a little more every day, until one day you wake up trapped in a life that's too small for your potential. Here's what nobody tells you about overcoming fear. It's not a one-time event. You don't conquer fear and check it off some list. It's a daily practice, a muscle you strengthen through use. Every time you choose action over avoidance, you're rewiring your brain. Those neural pathways that scream danger start getting quieter. The voice that says, "You can't," begins losing its power. But this only happens through consistent exposure, by deliberately leaning into discomfort. The most successful people aren't fearless. They're fear managers. They've learned to acknowledge the fear without obeying it. They understand that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the judgment that something else is more important than fear. The athlete afraid of injury still trains. The entrepreneur afraid of bankruptcy still innovates. The student afraid of failure still studies. Why? Because their vision is bigger than their fear. So here's your assignment starting today. Do one thing that scares you. Not something reckless, but something that stretches you. Speak up in class when you'd normally stay quiet. Apply for that opportunity you think you're not quite ready for. Start that project you've been putting off. Feel the fear, and do it anyway, because on the other side of that fear is the person you're meant to become. Remember this: your greatest regrets won't be the times you failed, but the times you didn't try because you were afraid. The job you didn't apply for, the idea you didn't share, the chance you didn't take. Those are the wounds that never fully heal. Failure, that fades. But wondering what if, that sticks with you. So the next time fear shows up, and it will greet it like an old acquaintance. "Ah, you're here again. That must mean I'm about to do something important." Then take a deep breath and step forward anyway, because the magic you're looking for happens just outside your comfort zone. Not in the absence of fear, but in spite of it. That's where growth lives. That's where futures are built. That's where you'll find your best self, waiting for you to have the courage to show up. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the most underrated superpower in existence. The kind that doesn't require genius-level IQ, extraordinary talent, or even luck. It's the quiet, unglamorous, relentless force that separates dreamers from achievers every single time. Consistency. You see, we live in a world obsessed with overnight success stories. We see the viral moments, the breakthrough performances, the sudden achievements. But what we don't see are the thousands of hours of unseen work that made those moments possible. The early mornings, the late nights, the repetitions when no one was watching. Because here's the truth: success isn't an event, it's a process. And that process is built on one thing: showing up, day after day, even when you don't feel like it. Think about nature for a second. The Grand Canyon wasn't carved by a single flood. It was shaped by the persistent flow of water over millions of years. A bamboo plant spends years growing its roots underground before it shoots up 90 feet in just weeks. That's the power of consistency. It's not about intensity. It's about endurance. It's not about being perfect every day. It's about being present every day. Now let's get real. Consistency isn't sexy. It doesn't give you instant gratification. In fact, most days it feels like nothing is happening. You study, but the test is still weeks away. You practice, but the performance isn't tomorrow. You work, but the promotion isn't immediate. And that's exactly where most people quit. They expect progress to be linear, obvious, dramatic. But real growth happens in the invisible moments. The days you push through, when motivation is gone, the days you choose discipline over distraction. Here's the secret. Small actions, repeated over time, create exponential results. Read 10 pages a day, and in a year, you've finished more books than most people read in a decade. Save just $20 a week, and in 5 years, you've built a financial cushion most people don't have. Practice a skill for 30 minutes daily, and in 6 months, you'll be better than 95% of people who only dabble. That's the magic of compound effort. It doesn't just add up. It multiplies. But let's be honest, staying consistent is hard. Why? Because life gets in the way. Distractions multiply, motivation fades, doubt creeps in, and that's exactly why most people never reach their potential. They let the chaos of life dictate their effort, rather than letting their effort dictate their life. So how do you stay consistent when everything around you is pulling you off track? First, define your non-negotiables. These are the daily or weekly actions that no matter what, you refuse to skip. Maybe it's studying for 2 hours every evening. Maybe it's writing 500 words a day. Maybe it's networking with one new person in your field each week. Whatever it is, lock it in. Not when it's convenient. Not if I feel like it. Non-negotiable. Second, embrace the power of systems over goals. Goals are great, but they're destinations. Systems are the roads that get you there. If you want to get fit, don't just set a goal to lose 20 pounds. Build a system. Work out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m. No exceptions. If you want to learn a language, don't just say I'll be fluent someday. Build a system. 30 minutes of practice every morning with your coffee. Systems turn aspirations into action. Third, track your progress. What gets measured gets improved. Keep a journal. Mark an X on your calendar for every day you follow through. When you see that chain of X's growing, you won't want to break it. Momentum is a powerful thing. Once you build it, it carries you forward. Now here's the hardest truth about consistency. You will have days when you fail, days when you skip, days when you're tired, discouraged, or just plain lazy. And that's okay. As long as you don't let one bad day become two. As long as you don't let a stumble become a surrender. The most consistent people aren't perfect. They're just relentless about getting back on track. So ask yourself today, what's the one thing you can commit to doing consistently? No matter what. What's your version of showing up, day after day, even when no one's applauding? Because here's what I know for certain. The people who change their lives, who achieve extraordinary things, who leave their mark on the world, they aren't the ones with the most talent. They're the ones who refuse to quit. The marathon isn't won by the fastest sprinter. It's won by the runner who keeps moving when every muscle screams to stop. The championship isn't won by the most gifted player. It's won by the team that practiced hardest when no one was watching. And your success, it won't be determined by a single moment of brilliance, but by your willingness to put in the work, day after day, long after the initial excitement fades. That's the power of consistency. It's not flashy, it's not dramatic, but it's the only thing that guarantees results. So start today, not tomorrow, not next week, today, and then do it again tomorrow, and the day after that. Keep going, keep growing, and watch what happens when ordinary effort meets extraordinary persistence. Because in the end, consistency isn't just what you do, it's who you become. Ladies and gentlemen, as we stand here today, let me leave you with this final thought. The world isn't waiting for perfect people with perfect plans. It's waiting for people who will show up, day after day, week after week, and put in the work when no one is watching. It's waiting for people who understand that greatness isn't born in a single moment, but forged through thousands of ordinary moments stacked together.
The choice before you isn't between success and failure. It's between showing up or giving up, between consistency or complacency, between building your future one brick at a time or waiting for someone to hand you a castle. So I ask you, what will your legacy of consistency be? What mountain will you build grain by grain through your daily dedication? The time for wishing is over. The time for starting is now. Go forth, not with the expectation of overnight success, but with the ironclad commitment to daily progress. Because that's how ordinary people create extraordinary lives. That's how dreams become reality. That's how you look back one day and realize you didn't just chase success, you built it with your own two hands, one consistent day at a time. The world needs what you have to offer. Now get out there and offer it. Today, tomorrow, and every day after that. Thank you.